Aw, animals.
World's first astro cat is getting a statue. Meow-tastic. Before people were sent into space, several countries were already using animals to test and understand how the lack of gravity in space could affect human astronauts. In 1963, a cat in France became the first cat to travel in space and return safely. To celebrate her contribution, a Kickstarter campaign was set up by Matthew Serge Guy to crowdfund the budget to build a bronze statue for Félicette, the astro cat. There are different stories about how Félicette, the fluffy pioneer, was recruited by France's space agency. Regardless, she and 13 other cats were later put in the space training program. Due to her calm nature during a series of training, Félicette was picked to be the astro cat to blast off from Earth. Cutting through the atmosphere and into space, Félicette's rocket reached a height of 157 kilometers. Félicette's trip in weightless space lasted 5 minutes. Her capsule then parachuted back down to Earth, where she later rendezvoused with the recovery team. The whole operation was 13 minutes long. After the space journey, Félicette was taken to the space agency's lab for further study, where she unfortunately was put to sleep so scientists could study the electrodes that were planted in her brain. In the name of science, Félicette and many other animals have contributed greatly to spaceflight, although the participation was against their will. Since her flight, European and U.S. space agencies have stopped sending animals into space, as the practice was considered unethical and more advanced technology became available to mankind. The campaign for Félicette received about $57,000 to get the project going. Famed animal sculptor Gil Parker has also agreed to help build the statue for Félicette. Guy's preferred site for where the statue will stand is Félicette's hometown in Paris. Keep watching for more amazing animal stories.
Footage shows family cats save a little boy from a vicious dog attack. This is the video that's turning conventional wisdom on its head. For years, mankind has counted on canines for help in many ways. They rescue us when we're stuck, help the less fortunate get around, and even go into battle with us against the forces of evil. Which is why our reliable, cuddly canine buddies became known as man's best friend. But no more. As you can see from this video, 4-year-old Jeremy Triantafilio was just minding his own business, happily riding his bike outside his Bakersfield home, when the devil dog struck. This bad doggy snuck up from behind the family car and took a chunk out of the boy's leg. But then, this happened. Here comes Tara the Fearless Wonder Cat, closely followed by Mom. The attack left Jeremy with a nasty wound to his lower leg that required stitches. The dirty mutt, meanwhile, is in custody and, according to police, will be euthanized in the next few days. Tara the cat has now become a hero after her brave actions struck a blow for feline kind.
Heroic dog saves owner's life. 2017 started out horribly for one Michigan man who spent New Year's Day injured and helpless in the snow. Luckily, it was man's best friend to the rescue. At 10:30 p.m. on December 31st, Bob ran out to get another log for his fire when he slipped and fell on the ice, breaking his neck. Unable to move, he screamed for help, but with the nearest neighbor a quarter-mile away, it was his golden retriever Kelsey that ran to his side. The temperature dipped to freezing, but Kelsey stayed by Bob, barking for help and licking his face and hands to keep him warm. The 64-year-old lost consciousness, but Kelsey's howling eventually got the attention of a neighbor, who finally discovered Bob 20 hours later. He was rushed to the hospital, where a doctor performed emergency surgery to save him. Now recovering nicely, Bob claims he owes his life to two heroes, his dog and his doctor.
Who's a clever boy then? This dog proved he's smarter than your average pooch when he broke out of his kennel earlier this week and wandered off into the night. The 10-year-old Great Pyrenees named General was lodging at an animal hospital in Stafford, Virginia, while his owners went to Virginia Beach on vacation. And as you can see from the footage, perhaps he wanted out so he could go join them. At around 4:15 a.m. on Monday, General busted out of his temporary accommodation, then opened at least 4 different doors in his heroic bid for freedom. He'd been staying at the animal hospital for the previous 2 nights, but clearly had had enough. Here we see the 124-pound dog making his way down a hallway, then sniffing around an office area. If General looks familiar with the surroundings, his owner said that's because the clever canine had been visiting the hospital for the past 10 months. Finally, General uses his mouth to open a door that leads him outside to a parking lot. Then off he went into the night. Around 3 hours later, hospital staff discovered General was missing and called his owners. The search for the dog went on for most of Monday. He was eventually found at 9 p.m., around 17 hours after he went missing in action. General was sitting in the garden of a nearby home, happy to be in the great outdoors and out of his cage. The dog's owners cut short their vacation to search for the beloved pet, and they were eventually reunited. So who's a clever boy then? Who's a good boy? Man's best friend came to the rescue of a drowning deer on Sunday, but it took a few more good Samaritans to really keep Bambi out of the water. Mark Freely and his dogs were walking along Long Island Sound when his golden retriever spotted the fawn and immediately leapt into the water. The dog, named Storm, swam out and gently grabbed the deer by the neck before doggy paddling all the way back to shore. A video clip of the rescue shows the heroic golden retriever nudging and pawing at the fawn to make sure it was okay. Freely immediately called an animal rescue center to check out poor Bambi, who was alive but exhausted.
Storm! Storm! Leave him, Storm! Storm! Storm, it's okay! Storm, leave him, okay? Good boy, Storm. Good boy. Good boy, Stormy. Good boy, Storm, okay? Good job, boy. Good job, boy. She's okay. She's okay.
But before they could even get to the fawn, she up and ran straight back into the water after being startled by the dogs. Left with no choice, rescuer Frank Floridia jumped in for rescue number 2. The fawn had gone further out into the water and was struggling to keep her head above the surface. Luckily, Floridia saved her just in time. The animal was covered in ticks and had an eye injury, but is now happily resting at an area rescue center. Bambi's set to make a full recovery in a few months, after which she'll be reunited with all her woodland creature friends.